A lot of you may be thinking that you actually don't have a space where you can garden, and you may not have an outdoor space that you can use. There are lots of ways to get started, and so this video is going to be all about those options and how to start implementing them. So there are a few options of what to actually plant into. So the first one is you can garden directly into the ground. And so maybe you are a homeowner, you do have land that you can do whatever you want with. The things to consider here is if you are going to be actually digging into the soil, it's important that you check with local companies to see if they have gas lines or anything that you're going to be disturbing. Maybe also you have a bit of time right now and you want to get started fast. One thing I would recommend is to use sheet mulching. And so every soil has this bank of seeds that are always lying there dormant. And so if you go in and you disturb the soil and then you start planting right in there, those weed seeds are going to pop up. There's a couple ways that you can stop this from happening. One is by using cardboard. And so what that looks like is you get rid of any grass you have, you look at the kinds of weeds you have, and there are different types. Especially in Canmore, we have a few that I've noticed. One is white clover, and the other is called quackgrass, and both of these are rhizomous weeds. So what that means is that they will grow sideways. So even if you do put something like cardboard down, they will find a way towards sunlight. So in Canmore, we have very shallow and rocky soils, and so this means that you're going to have to get in there with either a digging fork or a broad fork and break up the compacted soil so that your roots have a place to go. And then the next step would be to put that cardboard directly on your bare soil, and then you're going to have maybe some pathways. And one thing you can do is you can add wood chips between the pathways, and that's going to stop weeds from getting into your garden. So say you start digging in your soil and you notice that there are a lot of weeds. One thing that you can do is you can build raised beds. And so all you have to do is buy a couple of 2x4s and some screws, and you can build that pretty simply. The benefit here is that it's actually going to create a physical barrier between weeds getting into your garden, and this saves a lot of time later on. So when you're buying soil, you're going to want to buy a soil mix. You can also make your own. I'll put my recipe for soil mix in the description below, but if you want to buy, like, say, bags of soil, you're going to want to have something with a mix of compost. Maybe you aren't a homeowner and maybe you are renting a space, so another option is using containers. One option is to grow in grow bags. You may have seen this before with people growing potatoes. It's just like a felt sack that you fill with soil. Another option is milk crates. I have a video on that and I'll link it above. If you have a balcony, you can make use of your vertical space using recycled milk jugs, cutting the tops off and hanging them along the fence. You could also use things like rain gutters. Those are great because you can stack them and grow shallow rooting crops like lettuce or strawberries. This is a very easy way to do it, and it doesn't look that pretty, but it does give you some food, and it's a really good, efficient use of space. Another thing to consider is where is the sun in your area. So in Canmore, there is an actual sunny side and a shady side, and that shady side has less light because it's actually blocked by a mountain. Even if you do live in the shady side, there are lots of crops that you can grow, and my next video is going to be about what to plant. So I'll tell you which crops will do well in shade. The best thing to do is take a day off that's super sunny and just look at where the sun is hitting your yard. Another thing to consider is your soil. So if you are planting in the ground, what soil is there already is important to know. So really what you want in a soil is you want it to be fluffy, and normally that looks like a sandy loam soil. So sandy as in you have sand to help with drainage, but then loam as in you have water retention for your crops. That is ideal, but if you do not have that, you can always build it, and you can always add amendments that you buy from garden stores. The best test to do is to actually just dig as deep as you can go and just look at what's there. So another thing to consider is if your backyard backs onto a forest, you may have acidic soil. And so there are crops that will do well, such as rhubarb, and that's why you see a lot of rhubarb growing in Canmore. because it loves acidic soils, but there are lots of crops that won't do well with that. And so you can add lime to your soils to make it less acidic. So let's say that you don't have a sunny outdoor space to grow in. There are other options. Like when I lived in Toronto, I grew microgreens inside of a closet. So there is always a way to grow your own food. Microgreens are an option for anyone in any season. All you need is grow lights, soil, and a bunch of seeds, and you're good to go. Microgreens grow in 12 to 14 days on average, and they are extremely nutrient dense because all of the nutrients from the seed are in the sprout. And so that is an option for anyone who wants to start growing. Stay tuned for my next video on what to actually plant and what you can plant in Canmore with our short growing season and our cold nightly temperatures. So as always, if there's still questions that I have not answered, please comment them below, and remember to subscribe to this channel for more videos.